Greetings to all in the love and light of the One Infinite Creator. My name is Jonathan Tong, and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One Study Group. We can be found on the list of study groups on the L&L Research website shown on your screen. We can also be found on Facebook if you search for Seattle Law of One Study Group. We do meet on Zoom at the time shown on your screen, and you can use the email address shown on your screen to sign up to join any of your Zoom sessions or join Q&As like this one. You don't have to live in the Seattle area in order to join our Facebook group or join our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's welcome and available is welcome to join us. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of previous Q&As with Jim and Austin, Gary and Trish, and all our friends from the L&L channeling team. And today we are blessed once again to be joined by Mr. Jim McCarty for some Q&A and informal conversation about the law of one and how to live it in our daily lives. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing well, doing well. Another great day here in Louisville, Kentucky.
Nice. I heard springtime is starting to come, starting to see spring flowers appearing.
Yeah, I've got some crocuses and daffodils in bloom and yellow aconites, and looks like the surprise lilies are sending up the leaves 2 months early. So hopefully it's not a false spring. That's happened before, you know. Hard frost comes after we've had all that nice 70-degree weather. But I just have a hunch this year it might be an early spring.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it does feel like springtime is around the corner at least. Hey, I did want to ask you, as long as we're talking about Earth and seasons, I did want to ask you about Gaia meditations. As we know, the Gaia meditations have been going on for more than 20 years now. Every day and sending out prayers for Mother Earth and for peace and all that good stuff. And I know that you have been practicing them pretty much every day, I believe, since then, but I don't remember if I have ever asked you how exactly you do your Gaia meditations. Would you mind sharing that with us a little bit? How do you do those?
Well, I do them usually at 7 o'clock in the evening, and I meditate for about half an hour. And then at the end, I just thank Mother Earth for being here for us to live on, and that hope that everybody that's suffering any kind of difficulties in the world will feel the love of Mother Earth and other people around them for them. And then our webmaster, Daniel Shields, is in the process of writing a number of Gaia type meditations for healing Mother Earth and the population. And so far, I've recorded 4 of those, and eventually those will be on our website so people can listen to them. And, he's got a bunch more. He's very prolific. He's got a real connection with Mother Earth. So,
nice. Yeah, much appreciation to Daniel for all he does as a web designer and tech support with L&L Research. So is there a set of words, prayers that you say mentally or out loud in your meditations, or is it just kind of you go with whatever comes to your mind or heart at the time?
For the Gaia meditation, there is a set prayer that I use. It's the same one that's on my daily Camelot journal at the very bottom.
Yes. Okay. I thought that might be the case. Nice. Well, thank you for sharing that. I do see quite a few questions in the chat window and want to appreciate everyone who's on the Zoom call for being here and for sharing your questions. And I did want to encourage anyone who's here, please feel free to type your questions in the chat window. And we usually go in the order that the questions are there, and I'm keeping a list. So thank you for that. Before we do that, I did have one question that I should have asked quite a while ago. There was someone who left a comment on our YouTube channel in one of our previous sessions, more than a couple months ago, I believe, who asked if I could ask you this question, and I apologize for taking so long on it. But this person was asking about something that Ross said in session 12, and it was question 18 specifically, where Don asked the question, are there any Confederation or Orion individuals living on Earth visible to us and important in our society at this time, walking among us? And Ra says, I am Ra. There are no entities of either group walking among you at this time. However, the Crusaders of Orion use 2 types of entities to do their bidding, shall we say. The first type is a thought form, the second, a kind of robot. So the person was asking if you have any comments or can illuminate anything on the nature of said robots. I think they were actually curious about the robots in particular. Do you have any thoughts or ideas what Ra was referring to?
Well, I don't know specifically what they're referring to. I know in later sessions, they mentioned that there were thought forms that were responsible for the cattle mutilations, usually in the northwestern United States. And they took certain organs out of the cattle in order to inculcate fear in the population of the planet. And then I think the other type of entity could be the men in black that are apparently associated with UFO contacts. And that when there is a UFO contact somewhere, actually landed or something, they have been seen supposedly to try to remove the imprint that left in the ground to keep anybody from knowing that it actually happened. So that's just my guess as to what they might be talking about. We never really went any further in detailed questioning on that particular question.
You don't know if Don or Carla ever had any sort of encounters with men in black or anything like that?
No, I don't believe they did.
That's good. Well, thank you.
We have a man in black and white here sitting on my lap now.
Which one is that?
This is Bosco.
Hey, Bosco. How you doing? Good. Hey, I do see a number of questions in the chat window, so I do want to thank again for folks who are doing that, and I wanted to go straight to him. And Langley, we've got you at the top of the list, and then David and Katrina. Langley, would you like to unmute your mic?
You bet. Greetings, everybody. I had a question about...
excuse me for a minute. I'm trying to put my earbuds back in.
Yeah, earbuds are definitely helpful. You should probably plug mine in too. And Langley, you are calling from Canada, are you not?
Yeah, the Great White North.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm back again with my hearing ability.
Nice. Go ahead, Langley.
Yeah, great to be with you guys. My question was the planets, the physical planets, like say Venus, the social memory complex is in 6th density now, or evolving. So where does that leave the planetary complex? Because it, like say Earth is in 4th density and it'll continue to grow. But at what point does that kind of go away? Like if Venus in a physical sense right now is maybe not much to look at, but on a spiritual sense, where is Venus right now?
Ross said that because they had been there on Venus, it has 6th density vibrations, but since the current population is 5th density, it's a 5th/6th density planet.
Okay.
But I don't know if their 3rd density has been activated again, because I did mention when planet Earth itself is in the 4th density, and when our harvest is complete, that the 4th density entities will not know how to shield themselves from being seen by the 3rd density entities. So the 3rd density has to be deactivated for a certain period of time. And then it would be reactivated and there would be a 3rd density population on the planet. But I'm not sure if, I don't know if that's true for Venus. I mean, I would assume that it could be true, if it can be true for Earth.
Because I think at some time in the far future, physically, both Earth and Venus will be kind of reintegrated into the fabric of the universe. And I guess they continue on spiritually through the octaves.
Apparently everything that the creator has made out of itself, which is everything in the universe, will eventually coalesce at the octave level into what we call a black hole. And then the whole process will begin again.
Can't wait.
Can't wait for the black hole experience.
You only have a few million years to go.
Yeah. We'll have fun between now and then. Okay, thank you.
I had a quick follow-up question on that, Jim. I I know I have heard Ra and Quo refer many times to the fact that we are all going back to unity at some point. I don't remember anyone ever saying anything about a black hole experience in particular. Did Ra say something about that in the contact? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was basically the term that was used to describe what our physicists would see as various portions of the universe are coalescing. All of everything, including the light, is absorbed into the black hole. And that black hole, then, eventually, with everybody being in what we would see as the black hole, then that begins the process again, but it begins in a state of chaos, as Ross said, with nothing really seeming to be formed after a timeless period in what we would eventually see as the first density. Then the fire and wind would teach earth and water how to be formed and to create what we see as earth and water and provide the vitality of life in the first density, which then, when time begins to unroll its scroll of beingness, is about 2 billion years long.
Wow. Wait, I think I might have missed something. Are you saying that when this octave ends and another one begins, the next octave is more or less a repeat of this octave with a similar first, second, third through seventh
Right.
densities, or it would be a first octave or first density of some weird form of an entirely higher up octave?
Well, that is subject to conjecture. Ross said that they had contact with both those that came before this octave and those that came after this octave. What kind of contact that was, it's hard to say. They said that the light bringers, that when we drop our physical bodies and walk into the light, the entities that provide that light are from the octave above our own. So just exactly what form they will take, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, that's just an interesting way to look at it. I had kind of assumed that there was an infinite number of octaves that continued in a ever spiraling upward form.
And had continued before the one we're in now.
Right. Meaning the next octave would be totally different from this octave as opposed to just a repeat, like a Groundhog Day version of the cosmos.
Don asked Ra if there was polarity in the previous octave, like we experience now. The creator uses that, positive and negative as a way of charging our batteries and helping us move forward more quickly. And Ra said there was the mover and the moved, but they didn't really say there was a polarity. So if you can try to imagine what the mover and the moved is in relationship to positive and negative polarity, then you see the difference between the previous octave and the one we're in now. What it was like before that, I have no idea.
I'm going to meditate on that one for a while. Thank you for the illumination. David, did you have a question? Would you like to unmute your mic and ask? David, your mic is still muted.
Well, I clicked on it. I thought I got it. I heard a discussion that went on about civilizations that have been on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. And it got me wondering, do we only have 1/3 density 75,000 year cycle, or can there be more than one 75,000 density cycle?
Right. Well, to my knowledge, there is only one. So that one is 75,000 years long. For some reason, I'm not really sure. It has to do with the movement of planets through the galaxy, that each vibration, the first, second, third, and so forth, have a certain number of years. Most of them are in millions of years beyond ours, and before ours, they're in billions of years. So, this is, like Don said, a snap of the fingers, a moment in time. And the reason it's that a snap of the fingers and so quick is because theoretically, 75,000 years is a short period of time in order to make the choice of service to others or service to self.
Well, the thing is that we know, well, we think we know that there were civilizations hundreds of thousands of years ago. And that's where it's like, well, what happened to those entities,
Well, excuse me, if you depend upon physical science to give dates, that's kind of hard to do. And I know that they are all giving their best effort to do that type of calculation, but I would probably go with Ra's, statement that 75,000 years is it. Now, maybe some people, I know that other people on other planets who haven't made the harvest come here to try again, but then that's from another planet. And it might take some people 75,000 or 150,000 or more years to be able to make that harvest, but eventually everyone will make it. So I don't know, I've heard that too, that people have estimates of hundreds of thousands of years, but I don't know where they get it.
Were you thinking of any particular civilizations, David?
Well, I think Lemuria. I mean, when you think about the tectonic plates moving and whatever, there's been other continents that supposedly there were civilizations, and James Churchward's work and stuff like that. It just makes you wonder. I don't know the answer, and of course I've went through the raw material and I can't find. Like Jim says, there's only one 75,000 year cycle, major cycle.
Lemuria was apparently 50,000 years ago when their tectonic plates caused, the problem that they had to deal with. It wasn't any problem that they caused. So they reincarnated as what we would see as Native Americans or Indians in various portions of the planet.
Atlantis also was within that 75,000. So I think they might have been in the second cycle.
Right.
I don't remember the numbers exactly, but
well, we know that the wars of Atlantis were about 15,000 years ago. That the downsinking occurred, the final downsinking.
So
10,281 was the final one. The first one was like 12,000 years ago, I think.
So that would be the third cycle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
Katrina, did you have a question? Would you like to unmute your mic, and then Josh and John after that?
Yes, my question is as I'm going through all the raw content, I know in the very beginning there were statements from Ra about the use of LSD and how that had caused some blockages until all the chemicals were out. And I was wondering, as we go, I haven't been able to go through all the contacts yet, but if there's anything more about psilocybin mushrooms or things that are more natural here as opposed to LSD, because that's kind of what originally opened my mind to how we're all connected and the beauty of this universe. But I also don't want to just rely on substances to help me get there either. So just kind of where your thought processes are on these second density helping us in this progression.
Well, Ra didn't say anything about any plant medicines other than LSD. And one mention of marijuana. And that was because that Carla had taken LSD twice. And that was before the session. And it was still in effect in her body. It was a speeding up chemical. And it aided the contact for as long as it was speeding up. But when it began to wear off, then they had to abruptly cut off the contact because she no longer had that energy. They said in general, regarding LSD, that it would be helpful for most people if they used it in conjunction with any type of telepathic contact. But for Carla, they didn't recommend it for any type of contact because she had low energy in her body. And that type of chemical takes the energy out of the body for the time that it's being used. So they suggested not to do that. Now, those of Quo have said that using plant medicines in general, psilocybin or ayahuasca or wachuma, those are something that the one who uses them needs to be aware that they are gaining a certain insight that will allow them to know what is possible for them without the drug. So they suggested that you use it only to discover what your potential is, and then not to depend upon it as a daily or periodic thing that you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
That's a great question, Katrina. One that I've heard many people ask many times, so appreciate it. Josh, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, thank you. I hope you could hear me all right. It's a bit windy where I am. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. Thank you so much, Tim, for doing this, as always. Just thought of a question. I guess there's two parts. How do you, Jim, personally, would you say, practice the service to others, law of one path in your daily life?
Well, I have it kind of ingrained in my viewing of the world around me. I live a daily life that is much like everyone else's. Although I do spend a good deal of time writing my Damalot journal, which is a very spiritual type thing and really exciting and fun for me to do. But if I go shopping and I see that somebody has a problem, maybe in the grocery store, and they drop something out of their cart and they didn't know it, I try to pick it up, give it to them. Simple little things like that. If I'm driving along the road and I see that somebody would like to get in ahead of me, I let them in. I don't try to zoom past them and keep my place. Carla used that analogy a lot. I think road rage and people behaving certain ways when they're driving is probably one of the ways that we can show our service to others, and just basically, grant them the right of way and let them do it, go. And when I'm walking on my speed walk every day in my neighborhood here, I wave at everybody that I see, whether they're in a car or walking as well. And I think it's just a way of sharing a little love and light in the moment. But I think it's very helpful. So, just things like that, just looking for opportunities that come up. I don't go around saying, well, how can I serve? How can I serve? I just look at what is happening and say, is there a way that I can serve?
Wow, thank you. I really love those examples, and I appreciate that.
Oops.
The
Lost my earbuds again. I think because I lost the cat.
Did you have any other follow-up questions on that, Josh?
Yes, just thank you, Jim. Thank you for those examples. I appreciate that. My second part is, what would you say helped you open your heart in unconditional love daily, on your daily basis?
Well, it was before a homecoming here in 2015, August 31st. And I was meditating in this room in the morning. And I don't know why, I asked the Creator to come into my heart, and nothing happened. And then I thought to myself, well, the Creator's already there. Okay, well, I want to ask Jesus to come into my heart. So all of a sudden, my heart started beating really fast, and I started crying. And I realized that my heart was now open. Jesus was there. And from then on, it's always felt open.
What beautiful story.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Those are beautiful questions, Josh. As always, much appreciate you being here. Much appreciate your questions. Looks like Langley has a follow-up question. Would you like to ask, Langley?
Thank you. Just touching on meditating to the point where you're brought to tears. Does that happen often for you or for anybody else here? 'Cause for me, that's kind of the mark of of a really great meditation, when I'm brought to kind of that highest level where I get quite emotional.
for me, that doesn't happen really often. The times it does happen are very, very special, and I can never predict when it's going to happen. Um, most of the time when I meditate with the style of meditation I do, I just feel an activation in my indigo ray energy center, the frontal lobes. And that is something that I also feel is very precious to me as well. So, yeah, the tears are very special though.
Thank you.
It's a great question. Thank you, Langley. Raquel has a follow-up question also. Raquel?
I do. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for being here as usual. I have a question about your you asking Jesus to come into your heart and how you saw this. Because I recently, like within the last 2 weeks, had a dream where I was in a space with Jesus and we were in white, and then he proceeded to transfer knowledge to me through his third eye to my third eye. And he said, the story, it went like where I was like, you're finished with this class now, but in the book, there is still knowledge in the book. It's filled with light. And so there was like a literal book. It looked like a mystery book, and the mystery stories was related to me like that. But he said, this is another way you can receive the knowledge. And he began to transfer it to my third eye from his third eye. So I was just wondering how you saw it when you asked Jesus to come into your heart, how that happened. Because I felt like that was, it was more than a dream. It was more of like a transfer of information, I believe. And I have started to dream excessively after that and receiving a lot of little information here and there about stuff. So just curious about how you visually receive that that encounter with Jesus.
Well, I think there are all kinds of ways to be able to perceive a contact with Jesus. I think that he is with people who feel the kind of love that he did for his fellow human beings on this planet. And so it's unique for everybody. My particular experience, there wasn't any visualization that went with it. It was just all in the body, in the heart beating fast and the tears. And I guess it was definitely in the mind as well, because I was so grateful because I knew he had come into my heart. I just knew it. There was no question. So I think that things like this, I don't think that we can make them happen. I think they happen when they're supposed to, when it's the right time for each of us, and they happen in the way that is unique to us. So I think it's something that everybody has to look forward to. And you can, ask for it and always wish for it. And that might be like building a foundation for it, and that someday it will come true. Because I think that's what we're basically doing here in the third density, is trying to find a way to open our heart in love and acceptance of everyone, including ourselves,
Yes.
starting with ourselves, because if we can't love ourselves, then we can't love anyone else. Jesus said, love the creator with all your heart, mind, and body, and love your neighbor as yourself. So you got to love yourself first before you can love your neighbor.
I agree. I think I've been working a lot on self-love and loving the creator within the self a lot. So like making that a very intense focus because of recognizing the creator within me. And so I don't know, I've been asking, just for anybody wondering, I asked for the knowledge. I kept asking, during prayers, meditation. So when it was received, it was like, okay, that was it.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful.
I felt really blessed and very grateful. And since then, I've just been really just open to receiving and expressing love. So thank you for sharing yours. And I just wanted to get your opinion on that. So thanks.
Well, thank you for sharing yours. This is very beautiful.
Beautiful indeed. Thank you, Raquel. John, did you have a question to ask? And then Renat and Arcana after that?
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jim. Just want to start off by expressing gratitude for you being available to us and for all that LL research and you have done and continue to do. it's been immensely a blessing in my personal life. So thank you. My question is about synchronicity. So last couple of months in my life, I've started to experience more of them, and it's been increasing not only in frequency, but in relevance and maybe the degree to which they're eye-opening. And it's really been very interesting. So I was wondering, what perspective you have. I don't recall any mention of them specifically in the raw material. I believe Quo might have touched on it once or twice. Just wondering what perspective you have, if you have any specific experiences, and just kind of what light you can shed on synchronicity.
Well, I think synchronicity is probably one of the ways that our guides communicate with us to help us along our spiritual path. If we're open to it and we seek it, and if you're doing the best you can to seek and to be of service and to know more about yourself and to balance those portions of yourself that you feel need some work in order to grow, I think that you bring those communications from guides or your higher self to you. And it's like casting bread upon the waters. And it returns to you manyfold, compared to what you cast out there. So I think it's a great way of knowing the path to take in the moment, and then following it until you have another synchronicity or another choice to make, and you feel maybe even intuitively that there's a certain way to go. I think we have to use synchronicities and intuition and our faith and our will here in this third density illusion, because it's the veil of forgetting covers up the truth about everything, and here we are groping in the darkness trying to figure out what to do. So I think synchronicities are one way to shine a light through the darkness.
That makes total sense. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for your question.
Any follow-up questions on that, John?
No, I think that was perfect. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for great question. Jim, may I ask, have you experienced any interesting synchronicities in recent weeks, shall we say?
Yeah. On my speed walk, I noticed a person that I used to get her mail, her and her husband's mail, in my box is my address is 1504, and her address is 1504, but they're different streets. So I noticed when I went by her mailbox that one of the sides, the mailbox has got a door that's connected to the box by two screws, you might say, or bolts. And one of the bolts had come loose. Now, that happened on my mailbox, and I knew how to fix it. And so I was going over to her house on my walk with the plan of fixing her mailbox. But I couldn't get it done because I couldn't get the little bolt out. I tried wire cutters, and I tried a little bolt cutter, but it was too big. It wouldn't fit between, it wouldn't get down over the bolt. And I had a hacksaw, but I thought, that's gonna look kind of weird. So the day that I was going to go over to her, take my speed walk over and try to fix it, I was trying to figure out, well, should I do that or not? So just by coincidence, I looked in my mailbox, and for the first time in a couple of years, I had a letter meant for her mailbox. So I thought, okay, I don't need to fix her box. I just need to put this letter in a box. And so that's what I did.
That is great. What a wonderful story. What a wonderful synchronicity. Thank you for sharing that. Just out of curiosity, I know Don had synchronistic appearances of hawks, which seemed to be a very special totem animal, shall we say, for him, and perhaps for the rest of the L&L team. Do you by any chance have any particular animals that seem to be totem animals for you, or seem to appear at synchronistic times for you?
Hawks, I think that I inherited that from Don. Carla and I always thought that hawks were a really good sign. And when Gary and Austin were working here before COVID in the office just the other side of the living room here. I think Austin saw a hawk a time or two that was synchronistic with what he was doing. And I remember it was the 40th anniversary of the Raw Contact's beginning, which was 3 years ago, 40th anniversary, that I was looking out of my bathroom window and I saw a hawk sitting on a tree limb above the fish pond. And I thought, wow, on the 40th anniversary. So I went outside, and just as I came outside, I was able to get a picture of it before it took off. And then I got a picture of it as it was flying over the house. And so I thought that was probably Ross saying hello, happy 40th anniversary.
If I remember correctly, the Egyptian god Ra had the head of a hawk.
Horus, yeah, the hawk-headed the sun.
Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you so much.
And my personal choice, not that it's synchronistic or spiritual, I love rabbits. And I put out bird seed every day on the ground for rabbits and squirrels and chipmunks and birds, and for the deer. And then I have a bird feeder for the birds. But haven't been able to see too many rabbits recently because we have foxes around the area.
Oh, that's interesting. Any particular reason or connection with the rabbits?
I don't know. I just love those little bunnies. They're so cute. And I wish I could pet one of them.
That is so sweet. Thank you for sharing all that. I believe Renat had a question. Renat, would you like to ask? And then Arcana after that.
Sure. It's a small, probably not very important question, if to be inspired by Don's style. But I was wondering, Jim, in our research, I was poking around the material about wonders, and there's a quote there, not sure where it came from, that some wonders are souls who have come from elsewhere in the universe, but many others are Earth natives. And I was surprised because I never thought that wonders, I thought the whole definition of wonders are souls that came from 4 to 6 density to come help with the natives. So could us wonders or them wonders be native to this planet as well? I got confused about that information. So if you have any thoughts about that, would be great. And greetings from Israel, by the way.
Well, welcome. You're a long way from here.
I used to live in the US, so my heart is closer to the, yeah, I'm here as pure service to others. God knows what I'm doing here. I came back over a year ago after most of my life living in the US and England. So yeah, I came and there is war and we'll see.
Yeah. If I understand correctly your question, I think that Ra may have been talking about entities who had already made the graduation on other third density planets who were coming here now in our third density in order to be of service, because they saw all the confusion, the fighting, the dissension, and the separation as a great opportunity to be of service. And Ross said it was a privilege to be allowed this. They were wanderers of a kind, wanderers who will have their home on this third density planet as it is fourth density, but they had come from other third density planets. So I think that's what they were talking about.
I see. Okay. So it's not a contradiction. It's an addition, an expansion.
Right. Well,
okay. Thank you very much.
One other thing is when Carla wrote Wanderer's Handbook, she felt that there were people here that she called spiritual outsiders of third density. And they were outsiders because they had a spiritual path. And most people on planet Earth don't know that they're here to develop a spiritual path. And they are kind of lost in what we'll call the sinkhole of indifference. So those who do know that, she felt were just as valuable and had the same qualities of wanderers.
Yeah, I know quite a few. Maybe they're wanderers from other planets, but maybe not. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, right? It's not. The imprint doesn't matter. It's how we use our resources and our
Right.
development. So
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
the same. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
It's beautiful enough. Arcana has a question, but I believe is traveling. So Arcana asked me to read my question to you. I believe that was the case. And the question is, how does the archetypical mind help spiritual seekers in their spiritual journey? And what do you understand about the Hanged Man card in particular in your journey?
Well, basically, the archetypical mind is a description of the nature of the way we progress on the third density path here. It's divided into archetypes of the mind, archetypes of the body, archetypes of the spirit, and then the choice, number 22. There's 7 for each of the mind, body, and spirit, and the 22nd one is the choice. So we need, as sort of a summary of the whole thing, we need to learn how to be able to open our hearts in unconditional love and to give that love to those around us. And the hangman, the martyr, is one way of looking at the complete giving of oneself to help others on their spiritual path, to sacrifice the self if necessary. So I think that's basically it. And I think it's interesting, her name is Arcana.
Coincidentally enough, synchronistically enough. Thank you. I did have a follow-up question on that, something I've been meaning to ask you for a while. I believe Ra refers more than a few times to becoming an archetype. And I was wondering what that means to you and if that's something that you have applied in your own practice life.
That, I believe, is an advanced practice. And basically the fruit of learning all there is to learn about the archetypes and practicing it in your daily life. Now, I've not done that myself, so I can't tell you exactly how to do it, but I think it is being able to put to use all the information that was available to us in the raw contact concerning the archetypes. Now, we only had the ability or the opportunity to question extensively for the archetypes of the mind. We only got a general outline of the body and the spirit. So I assume that it's still possible. I guess a few years ago, there was a fellow who wrote a book called Music of the Spheres, and it was based upon the archetypes. And from the impression I got that he had been able to do that, he had some very inspiring things to say about every archetype. He was even able to go on to the areas of the body and the spirit that we did not have a lot of information about, to make extrapolations that sounded very likely to be the case. So I think it's possible, but I haven't done that yet.
Interesting. When they refer to becoming an archetype, do you think it could mean becoming a particular archetype, like becoming the magician or becoming the high priestess? Or
I believe that's what they meant. To be so familiar with the concept of what that archetype does or expresses, the quality of it, the nature of it. I think that is what it would be. That, of course, is just a guess. But in order to be that, you'd have to put on every part of the robe that is, the clothing of the archetype, and to live it.
Sounds like more the work of an adept, perhaps, than the rest of
it. I would say so.
Indeed. Thank you. Aram, did you have a question to ask? And then Rhonda, and then Langley, and then Ashley?
Yeah, hi, Jim. Good to see you again.
See you again.
Yeah. So my question is not, it's more of a curiosity than like a fully formed question, and it's kind of in 2 parts. So I'm wondering about soul families and soul groups, and I'm assuming you, Carla, and Don were in the soul family, but in the raw material, it says you were all of different densities. And so I'm wondering like how that works. And then also, I believe you said you believe Don has reincarnated. as your friend's son. And so I'm wondering, in, you know, when Dawn was Dawn, you had a relationship that brought the raw material into existence. And so I'm wondering, Dawn as this new incarnation, what is your relationship with him? And is that relationship in line with, you know, continuing the raw material or bringing the raw material forward, I guess is my question.
Well, in general, I think spiritual families were discussed by Dr. Michael Newton in Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. And the general concept there is that, now I don't know what the number is for a spiritual family, but just in general, that a spiritual family works together to incarnate into third density, each taking a certain role and pre-incarnatively choosing how they will relate to each other and how they help each other on their path. And sometimes the spiritual family also, one or more of the members do not incarnate. They serve as guides for those that do incarnate into the third density. Now, as far as Don and Carla and Ra mentioned that we'd worked together many times before, and that we had done some of the same work that Ra was doing, with helping the planetary healing and bringing forth information that would be helpful to other spiritual seekers. Supposedly, there were two of us that were of the sixth density and one of the fifth density, that was working on graduating into the sixth density. So I don't know if exactly we would be described as a spiritual family, but we certainly were a family in a different sense. You know, there was a lot of love between us during the raw contact. And as far as the fellow that has reincarnated, we believe to be Don in his incarnation, he lived here with us for a couple of years, and we really enjoyed our time together. But it seemed that there was more work that he had to do elsewhere that was part of his spiritual path. He knew that some people thought that he was the reincarnation of Don. He just kind of chuckled and said, okay, whatever. But, you know, just things out of curiosity. Don was 6'5", and Kenneth was 6'5". And when Kenneth was 5 years old, and I was in my truck driving him up to a piece of land we used to have in northern Kentucky, he would do something, a couple of things that were really amazing. He looked at the clouds in the sky and he said, you know, the clouds aren't moving as fast as you think they are, because the earth is rotating on its axis, and he had his hand up here as the earth rotating, and this is the cloud here. And that just makes it look like the clouds are moving fast. And I thought, okay. And then we saw a jet plane go across the sky. And, you know, Don was a pilot. He was a pilot for Eastern Airlines. He flew the Boeing 727. And so he said, you know why a plane can fly? And I said, no. How? How does it fly? He said, well, there's more air pressure under the wing than there is over the wing. And I thought, that's from a 5-year-old? Okay. But I'm still in contact with Kenneth and his sister, who lives across the river, Casey. And as far as I've heard, he's doing very well, that he has a big heart, which I think is something that Don would be working on, because when he was in incarnation, he decided at the age of 26 that this was a crazy world. And the best you could hope for was a private room in an insane asylum. And so he decided he wasn't going to be subject to going up and down with emotions, good ones, bad ones, good ones, bad ones. He was just going to be an observer. And that was basically closing his heart down. So Kenneth has got a big heart. And so I think things are going well with Kenneth.
What a beautiful story. I've heard you share that story a few times, and it's a little bit different every time you tell it. You get a little bit different insights into it each time. Really appreciate that. Aram, did you have any follow-ups on that?
No follow-ups. Thank you.
Thank you.
Raquel, you have a follow-up?
I do. I have a question, Jim. The wanderers that are here, do you think, people who pass on, because, for instance, I had an uncle, I spent a lot of time with him, like within 6 months before he passed on. And as he transitioned, he visited me in his dream, all dressed in white, letting me know he was leaving. And then he came back like a month later to let me know with a big smile, like everything's good. And I receive like people who transition that I know personally well, they do come to me in dreams. So I wonder if they are aware of our service. Like, do they know we're wanderers? Like, is there any timeline when a person transitions that's not a wanderer that recognizes, oh, this person was there helping me and came back to be of service? And, like, is there any, like, once people transition, do they know everything? Like, do they see, like, yeah, that guy was over there helping me and Jim was, incarnated to help with the law of one? And is there any awareness around that?
I believe there is a lot of awareness around that because they are no longer subject to the veil of forgetting that keeps us from seeing the nature of reality as being unity and, made by love and manifested into light. So I think that they probably use that knowledge to continue their service and come back to those who are aware of their own spiritual journey and to try to help them in some degree there. Not make choices for them, just to let them know I'm here, things are well, and you're doing well. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I felt like he had recognized, like he realized who I was once he left and came back. Because when he came back, he was just smiling, like, like, hey, I knew something funny was about you. Like, there was weird about you, because I was just there holding the light for him, showing him as much love as I could, and which he wasn't receiving during his incarnation. He had a pretty rough one. So the time I got to spend with him, I was very grateful for that. The Creator had placed me there during that time before he transitioned. So it was just beautiful. I
Yeah.
do have a quick question. Do you think the archetypical mind, the blueprint transitions into like once it's solidified, like we all reach a certain archetype or are able to express a certain archetype, that information is taken with and transferred into the next octave as the blueprint for each octave, like that accumulated information? Just a quick thought.
I actually don't know. I think, and I could be wrong, that the archetypical mind was made really to function here in the third density. Because when we're out of the third density, we don't have the veil of forgetting, then we can see all of those functions that the archetypical mind serves here in the third density very clearly and move in accordance with them.
What
But
a
I could
great
be
question.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, that is fascinating. What a great question, Raquel. Did you have any follow-ups on that?
No, I'm gonna leave it for someone else to ask another question. But thank you, Jim. Thanks for your knowledge. No. I don't want to take up too much time, but I appreciate your knowledge on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have given us much to meditate upon this time, sir. Thank you so much. Rhonda, I do see your hand up, and if you had a follow-up question, that would be great. And then I saw your name next in the queue for another question. So if you don't mind, I'd like to cut in with a follow-up question of my own as we are approaching the end of our hour. This is kind of going back to the relationship between you, Jim, and Don and Carla. And this is something I think I meant to ask last month. At the risk of asking too personal a question, would it be fair to say that there was something of a love triangle between the three of you? And if that is the case, how would you describe that love relationship between the three of you?
Well, Carla always said that Don's love was obvious to her, but he never said it. Like I said, he wasn't going to be emotional or expressive. He shut down his heart. When I got together with Don and Carla, Carla and I immediately had a love for each other, a feeling of that we had been together before and that this was the appropriate time to be together. And so we did have a love relationship. The sexual energy transfers that we provided for the raw contact helped to fuel the length of time where she could serve as an instrument. It increased her vital energy. Don and Carla did have a sexual relationship for the first 6 months of their life, but then he decided he wanted to be celibate again. So it turned out pretty well that he decided to be celibate. Carla and I had a sexual, romantic, and spiritual relationship, and all three of us had spiritual relationships with each other. So there was a great deal of harmony in the group. There wasn't any. And another thing that was helpful was that I've been living for 6.5 years in a log cabin in the woods of central Kentucky before I joined Don and Carla. So I liked solitude. And so for a lot of the time in the evenings, I would be back in my room reading or meditating or doing one thing or another. And Don and Carla would be in the living room watching television. I would join them from time to time, but the ability to have solitude and time together was something that was good for me, and they appreciated it too. Be able to spend time together with each other, and then when I joined them, that was good too. So everything worked out. It was a win-win-win situation.
It seems a really rare and extremely unlikely thing for three individuals like yourself to be able to be that harmonious and that loving with each other and that able to continue that sort of relationship without the envy, without the jealousy, without the possessiveness that I would think would be so typical of just about any other three people in that situation. So I can see why that was such a special relationship between the three of you that allowed the contact of such a narrow band to be able to continue.
Yeah, well, that's what Ross said. It was the harmony of the group that supported the contact.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. How about Rhonda? And then Ashley had a question she hasn't asked yet, and then I think we might need to wrap things up at that point. Rhonda, would you like to go ahead and ask your question?
Hi. Yes, thank you so much. I'm just something that's been exciting me lately, and just kind of wanted to see if I could get just a comment on it. And that is, I have a lot of friends. I'm not a spiritual healer myself, but I do have a lot of friends in that community that channel like Archangel Michael or Arcturians or Star Nations, these other entities, and they all seem to be having this very common message coming through just as of lately in regards to everyone receiving these light upgrades. And the purpose of this is so that we can help the children who are here realize their gifts. And I'm just sure, to me, it's exciting. It seems very synchronistic with the law of one material and this transition into fourth density. But just curious if there's any comments about that happening and how that applies to the law of one.
Well, I think that there are a lot of groups around, like the ones you just mentioned, that are aware that the energies that are engulfing the planet at this time are more intense than have been before, and that these energies can be used in a positive way to help others around them, to be of service to others, and to progress on the spiritual path by giving of oneself to others, and by using some of the difficult catalysts that's now on the entire planet. So I think that as far as what Ra had to say about that was that this is really why we're here, is to help each other in the difficult times, especially. And sometimes that help comes by our processing of difficult catalysts that we might have with another person and resolving the difficulty. And, it doesn't have to be something, amazing like healing, but it really does heal if you can heal a disharmony and make one more step forward as your contribution to the planetary and population moving forward into the fourth density. So I think all of these pieces of information are part of the puzzle of the unity of the entire creation and our part in it.
Thank you.
Great question.
Thank
Did you have any follow-ups on that, Ashley? I mean, Rhonda, sorry.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. Ashley, I believe you have the next question.
Hi, sorry if my internet is cutting in and out. It's been wonky. But hi, Jim. Good morning. I just
Morning.
want to thank you for your service to planet and people and for all that you do with LO research. My question is, I wrote it down here. How do you view the cultivation of joy and the expression of humor in the seeker or adept's life? Do you see value in this? And if you do, could you speak to its importance in navigating this incarnation? Thank you.
I think joy and a sense of humor are probably two of our greatest qualities that we need to remember when the times get rough. And it seems like there's not joy around. Ra suggested that the light touch, which was a sense of humor or it's a sense of proportion, was important for the spiritual path. And we need to remember that when times are tough, that this is for a purpose. And as tough as it might be, the purpose is being fulfilled. And we might be the punchline for the joke, you know. And not to forget to laugh at ourselves. You know, use Jonathan Tong as a model, because
people laugh at me all the time.
but we need to laugh at ourselves too. You know, I laugh at myself a lot. I live alone. I talk to myself, and I make jokes, and I crack myself up. You know, and I think it's really important because it's the third density is a tough place to be, and so we got to take along some sense of humor. If we're going to survive.
Sure.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a great question, Ashley. Did you have any follow-ups on that?
No, that resonates. I also laugh at myself and make jokes. Yes, thank you.
And that is a great segue into our pop quiz for today. Raquel, did you have a follow-up?
Just a quick, so with third density being so hard, and yeah, I believe humor too. And you said Don didn't want to be like subjected to all the emotional ups and downs that we face here in third density. Is one of the things that we're here to do is to balance that emotional aspect so that we're not subjected to that, flailing in the wind, basically. Is
Right.
that pretty much one of the things we're here to do, is like learn to balance those emotional ups and downs, basically?
Right. And I think that might be one area where Don, if he had it to do over, from where he's, after he was on the other side, looking back, he probably should have said, well, I could have done a little better on that one. But overall, I think he lived a great life, and sure glad to have been able to know him.
Yeah, and he did a great service, so he should be proud of himself, and I'm sure there was much advancement for him just on that alone. So grateful for you guys, as always.
Thank you for your questions. Thank everyone for your questions. It has always been enlightening for all. Jim, we are kind of at the end of our hour. You got a little bit of extra time for a pop quiz?
Okay. Like I said, C, B, and A in that order.
Okay, works for me.
No,
yes.
I'm going to go intuitively here because I never know the answer.
Well, that is kind of the point of the pop quizzes. Yeah, it's supposed to be in the spirit of third density, chaos and confusion. And yes, great synchronicity with Ashley's last question there, interestingly enough. So got to run with that. As you all know, pop quizzes are something we've been doing for the last few sessions, just to add a little bit of laughter and a little bit of levity to otherwise serious questions. So Jim, yes, we have been talking about a sense of humor most recently, and I believe humor has been a central part of your incarnation from beginning of day one. Is it true that the doctor who delivered you had the last name of Jester?
Dr. Jester, that's true.
A great synchronicity if there ever was one.
And I was born in Kearney, Nebraska, as in carnival.
Really? I don't remember that part. That's great. It just keeps getting better and better, for sure. Well, today we're going to find out how much you know about popular TV sitcoms or situation comedies of the last 20 plus years. Are you ready to try?
Yeah, sure.
Indeed. So, All in the Family was the first show on network television where audiences heard which of the following? Was it A, the N word, B, the word abortion, or C, a flushing toilet?
Let's hope it was C.
And you are correct. Correct answer is C. Did you ever watch All in the Family?
Yeah, I did. Years ago.
Oh, nice. So you remember the flushing toilet was kind of a recurring joke on that show?
No, I just don't remember the A or B ever happening on there.
I don't think so. No, indeed. I think it was a recurring gag that was used for comedic effect. And the N word, I'm not sure. I did research this a little bit. And as far as I can tell, the Jeffersons was the first time that word was used on network television. And I believe the word abortion was first used on Maude, which was a sitcom spinoff from All in the Family. Which reminds me, just out of curiosity, do you have any thoughts from a law of one perspective on the recent Alabama State Supreme Court case where they ruled that a frozen embryo was entitled to the same rights as a child or a person? Have you heard about that case?
Just vaguely. I didn't know exactly what it was about, though.
It happened just within the last, I don't know, week or two. Apparently there was a fertility clinic where couples who are trying to have children have a large number of frozen embryos. And if they're lucky, one is implanted in the woman and is able to develop into a child. But somebody at the clinic apparently accidentally dropped one or more of those frozen embryos. And then the clinic was sued for basically taking the life of a child. And the Supreme Court ruled that those frozen embryos, which were about a week old, and I think they're microscopic, maybe about the size of a period at the end of a sentence, were entitled to the same rights as a child. Do you have any thoughts on that from a law of one perspective? Or maybe the whole abortion issue from a law of one perspective?
Well, that particular issue, I would say that, that's a child in the beginning with rights. And as far as abortion goes, I personally would not recommend it, but it's the woman's body. It's her choice.
Indeed. Yeah, I did find one or two passages from Quo where I think they were asked specifically at what point the entity to be incarnated becomes part of the developing physical body. And they said it's different. Yeah, it could happen anytime from conception all the way up to birth. And it just kind of depends on the situation.
Right. But you have to assume that it could be. You don't know. So you have to assume it is. I would think.
Indeed. Thanks for sharing that. Are you ready for your second question?
Oh, I'm ready.
You're going one for one so far. So are you familiar with The Simpsons TV show?
Vaguely.
It's been around for a while. And apparently it is notorious for supposedly predicting events in the future well before the events actually happen.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's a thing. Which of these events were predicted by The Simpsons years in advance? Was it A, the Trump presidency, B, the COVID pandemic, or C, censoring Michelangelo's statue of David?
I'll go with B, the COVID pandemic.
That is correct. As is A, as is C. All of the above were predicted by the Simpsons. Although,
so do I get 1/3?
You for sure get 1/3.
Well, I couldn't lose then, could I? Or
No,
I also couldn't win.
You got a really good batting average so far. I got to tell you, you are putting up some great numbers, my friend. Yeah, The Simpsons has been around a long time, and all three of those things they sort of predicted in advance. Although, in truth, all three of those things were actually happening at the time that the show was airing, so they weren't really predicting in advance so much as just commenting on things that already had been there. Are you ready for your third question? The Big Bang Theory, another more recent situation comedy. In The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper is an astrophysicist with a genius level IQ of 187 who does what every time he visits someone? Sheldon is the guy in the green t-shirt on your screen. And what does he do every time he visits someone? Is it A, sanitizes the doorknob with a disinfectant wipe, B, knocks on their door 3 times and says their name, or C, counts how many seconds it takes for them to open the door?
A.
A sounds like a good answer, but indeed the correct answer is B, knocks on their door 3 times and says their name.
Okay.
The character is really well known for what he could be saying, his obsessive behavior and repetitions behavior and so on.
Okay.
And that's sort of an endearing characteristic, I suppose, with that character. Which reminds me, would you describe yourself perhaps as a creature of habit? Would it be fair to say that you have a lot of rituals or ritual behaviors that you do on a daily basis?
Just about everything I do is a ritual. Yeah. That's why I get along so well with my cats, because they have ritualized behaviors. They like to be fed at a certain time and petted always. And yeah, I do. It's a ritual. It truly is. I have variations from the ritual from time to time, you know, but pretty much.
And would it be fair to say that that has been a big part of your spiritual journey and your spiritual practice, that discipline, and you could say, in doing the same things so much every day, whether it's writing the Camelot journal or meditating throughout the day or your gardening work or anything else?
Yeah. In order to get everything done, I have to give some time to everything that I want to do, just the things you mentioned. You know, gardening, meditating, writing the Camelot journal, running errands, having doctor's appointments. Although that's not so often that it's a ritual, but I have to leave room for it. So yeah, that's the way I get a lot of things done that I wouldn't get done if I didn't have some pattern or ritual.
I would imagine so. Well, we certainly appreciate the ritual you have of joining us for these Q&As once a month.
Yeah.
Means a lot to me and everyone else who's here, and I would imagine everyone else who watches those. So thank you so much for your time and your gift of service in that way. Did you have any last thoughts, reflections you wanted to share before we say goodbye for today?
Well, this is a ritual that I really enjoy, and I look forward to it every time because the questions are always amazing, things that I've never heard before, and I don't know how that keeps happening. Because you wouldn't think that questions would be infinite, but then again, since people are infinite beings, then I shouldn't be surprised. But I am very, very happy to be part of your ritual, and everybody who attends part of the ritual. We're all pieces of the puzzle. We're putting it together. And thank you for being part of my puzzle and the answers to my puzzles. Just as I hope I've answered some of your puzzling questions.
Indeed, so much. We're so thankful and so blessed to be able to have this time. Every moment is precious and really means a lot to us. Thank you so much for all you've done and all you continue to do in service to others. And thanks to all our friends at L&L Research for all they've done and continue to do in service to others, including all those events to come in the not too distant future. Thank you for everyone who joined us on this Zoom call. It's been really, really wonderful. As always, loved all the questions. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. And for everyone who's watching on YouTube, if you're still watching at this point, blessings to you and thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator. Adonai, namaste.
Adonai, I love you all.
Love you.